Hi guys, to launch this illustration project you will receive a pack. Within your large envelope you will find an A5 sketchbook with your name on it and a pre-loved copy of the book The Iron Man. So what we're going to do, we're going to read the story The Iron Man. We're going to think about the visual content and we're going to design the front cover. Once we have the design for the front cover, we are going to use reference material to develop a high-level artwork exploring processes appropriate to your design. So pupils in the class might be doing different media as we move through this phase of the work. Once we have the final outcome, which will have this aspect ratio, but will probably be somewhat larger than the actual book cover, we will scan it or photograph it and we will import it to Photoshop. There will be a pre-made file which will be populated with information that will be helpful to you, like the title, the author in the various locations you'd find it, possibly a space for some blurb and other detail you might have on the back. That will be fully editable. You'll be able to move it around, change the font and explore some digital editing. So at the end of the project and on display, you will have your large artwork, which won't have any of the text on it. And you will have printed a dust jacket that will fit around the book and look professional. So guys, I'm giving you a pre-loved copy, and the reason for that is because I fully expect you to write notes on it. You can cut it up, you can take text out of it and use it in your sketchbook. You are an A5 book and I have an A4 just because I did mine in the holiday. Now in your sketchbook, what I really want you to do is write some notes. Now I write a lot of notes when I'm researching and we're all different. Sometimes people hold a lot of information in their mind, but what I'd like is some sort of summary of things that you think are interesting that you might take and put onto the cover. This is all about visual content, so I'm talking about the scale, the hair, details about things as it's come into the story. It's not got a lot of order to this. I kind of put it into sections but then have overspill space. I was just cutting some text up as well, that just happens to be in the book. Now the next thing I want to show you is here I have some little doodle ideas. Notice doodle ideas. Now it doesn't really matter what these drawings look like. These are really, really important because this communicates your thoughts and your ideas to your teacher. My dodgy drawing here, look, there's like a figure, that's meant to be the Iron Man. That circle that looks a bit like a halo is the sun. When you read the story, you'll know the relevance. And these are flames, they look like long grass. That's why I've labelled flames and sun. In this one, I've got a little design. It's sort of based on something I've seen somewhere else, another artist's work. I've actually written the Iron Man, but I probably wouldn't do that in the actual artwork for the cover. I'd make it without that and I'd do that in the digital edit. Now, you might have loads of ideas, you might have one idea. I actually think it's quite helpful to just explore a few because it gives us more options when we're in the classroom. And when we're in the classroom, we will then decide what it is we're going to do with this stuff. So I'm not asking you to make any fancy artwork. It might be that you see some photographs or something that you think is interesting, like a photocopy of some nuts and bolts here. You might want to stick some stuff into your little A5 book. That is absolutely cool. Now I've gone one step further, of course, because I'm a bit obsessive. I have doodled the whole story as though I was making a full book. And I'm not going to do this. This was just me going through it really thoroughly. So if any of you talk to me about any specific scene, I've kind of thought that through already. Not to push my ideas upon you, because I don't want to do that. I want your ideas and to see where we go. So in your little booklet, you are sticking, cutting, drawing, cutting bits out of your booklet in your book. You can use anything you like. You can cut passages, you can write. Anything at all you find relevant is going into that small book. That small book is the discussion document that will inform what we do next at school. What I want you to consider though is what your Iron Man looks like. This guy on the cover might influence our ideas, but is your Iron Man a robot? Is he some sort of cyborg? In my mind, when I really thought about it, mine was more like a real human form. on a large scale, but a bit like the Anthony Gormley figures from Another Place at Crosby. So I really want you to think about what your Iron Man could look like. Right, we've come somewhere really lovely. We've come to the junior school library and we're going to have a look at some book covers. And obviously these are aimed at a younger audience. If we have a little look at the covers themselves, the ratio of the surface area of the cover is fairly similar. Look at where the text is placed central to this design. The illustration is just around the edge. Compare it to this example. The illustration fills the full cover and the text is over the top. In this example, we have 2/3 of the surface area devoted to the illustration with the text in a single third at the bottom. Now what I would like you to do is none of those things. It's when you're designing is to consider where you would put your text within your cover, within your illustration. So in both of these examples, the text is worked into part of the design. As this is an art project and an illustration project, the illustration is the dominant element. Right guys, it's time to judge a book by its cover. So in both cases I have a copy of the Iron Man. This book is much larger. When you look at it, it's actually a picture book. It's got the full story, but look, it's fully illustrated. Whereas the small version does have some illustration through the book, but it isn't as fully documented as this version. Now, what can we tell from the cover? We can see the title. In both cases, we can see the author. In this case, we also have the illustrator's name because it is a picture book. But what can we tell about the story? Let's look at the character. This dominant character, we assume the Iron Man, is of a large scale. We can see that due to the ratio of this big figure and small person. We see the same thing again here. Yet in this one, we have other visual content. I wonder what all these cars are doing. I wonder why this wheel is hanging up here. If we consider colour, this one is a kind of maroon, but you could say it's a similar colour to iron, whereas this one is a cooler blue colour and slightly different. So your final outcome will be realised back in school. We might use mixed media, painting, printmaking, it could be a collage, a lino print, or many more processes.